So wow. Okay, I cannot speak. Let's just Hello, everybody. My name is Jay Walker, and this is Blind Dates. I am here with my beautiful guest, Miss Linda. She is a psychic medium, very mysterious. And we are going to learn so much about you today. Please, let's jump on in. Can you tell me just a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from?
Well, my name's Linda Fay. I am an intuitive tarot reader and I'm a psychic evidential medium. I am more evidential based, which is more focused on identifying who's exactly coming through for you, meaning your departed loved one. And then we just kind of go through information to kind of let you know, okay, yeah, this is him or her, just to kind of identify. And then maybe we can move on to the messages if they have any messages for you guys. I've been born and raised in the United States my whole life. I was born in Georgia, but I stayed in North Carolina most of my life. I'm a pretty typical human person, nothing too fun or exciting besides me being psychic medium.
I think that's a little bit fun and exciting, I think. So there's a line on your website that really caught my attention, and it is
Uh-huh.
the line "No bullshit psychic." What does that mean in your definition? What can you give me an example of a time that you like had to be no bullshit?
Well, I don't like sugarcoating things, but at the same time, I like to try being compassionate about certain information that comes through. So, like, I'm just straight to a point, very honest and authentic about what happens during my readings and everything. And I just don't like, I don't know, being around the bush. I just like getting straight to a point and kind of thing, is this I guess it's me being honest does makes me so different from other psychics out there because they like to kind of feed into your ego and tell you what you want to hear. But
Mhm.
I don't. I'm not like that. I'm not here to cater your ego. I'm more here to give you a reading that's beneficial in the way that you need it to benefit you. If that makes sense.
I like that. I like that. So has there ever been a time when like you've really just destroyed someone's ego and they've just kind of had to recover from that?
I think it's more on tarot readings, and it's just like this guy, he was a skeptic, but he was open minded to it. And then basically it just told him that it's some kind of problems he had, that like he had money spending problems, he had like self-esteem problems, but it's not necessary to roast him, but it's to kind of pinpoint and say,
Give
hey,
him the
this is the
truth.
issues that you need to work on.
Yeah. I like that. I like that aspect of it. Um, so can you tell me a little bit about how your mediumship started? Like you said and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you said it wasn't really around when you were a child. It started with, your sister-in-law's what was it, her father?
Yeah. um so I was never spiritual or religious at all growing up. I mean, with the Hmong people, the Asian people, we are basically spiritual, but we have shamans. So I did grow up around shamans and stuff like that, but for me, I wasn't really spiritual and stuff. But then it was like maybe 2013, maybe leading towards 14, where my sister's boyfriend father passed, which is my father-in-law. Um, I didn't really necessarily see him, but I heard his voice, and he said, "Told them I'm okay," kind of thing. So it's really, I didn't really think too much of it, but it's just like, okay, he's dead. What's going on? Kind of thing.
Yeah, did you like think you were losing it or what?
I was still young at that time. I was like 18, 19, so I didn't really think too much of it and stuff.
Interesting. So what is the experience of mediumship like? And I have this written down. Um is it an overwhelming surge of the undead at all times of the day, or is it more controlled?
It depends on the individual. For me, it's more controlled because I tell my students that I mentor for mediumship, you have to have the rules and boundaries set in stone, whether you're in public or at your house. It's your space. And I told them too that you need to talk to your spirit teams, spirit guides, angels, whoever you consider or talk to kind of help you reinforce and enforce those boundaries and rules you have set in place. For me, for example, I told them, hey, anytime I'm not doing readings, especially mediumship, don't let any spirits come to me. Don't talk to me. No, it's a no. And then the only time they're able to talk to me is when I'm doing mediumship. And then it's so funny too that I have a cutoff time. So 9 o'clock is a cutoff time. No spirits bother me, blah, blah, blah. Just take them out if they come try and talk to me. So like I said, I really have a controlled environment, but other mediums, I don't know they do, but for me, I do.
Interesting. So like you said rules and boundaries. So one of your rules you said is not past 9 o'clock. What are some other rules you have?
Let's see. Don't bother me, my kids. Don't just coexist,
Hmm.
basically, and stuff. And don't try talking to the kids or anything and stuff.
Has that ever happened before? Like have your kids ever been like, "Hey, ma."
The oldest one, he's more sensitive like me, so he does tell me. So whenever there are things that pop up or something really strange that he's not used to seeing, he'll let me know immediately. So it's been a while since any incident happened, so I'm very thankful.
Mhm. Interesting. Okay. So going back to when you said, you were visited by your sister's boyfriend's dad. So how did they like when you mentioned that to them, if you did at all, were they just like, okay, whatever, or did they believe you?
I told my sister as soon as I woke up, and she said, "Okay, that's good." So I feel like she maybe thought I was crazy, but at the same time, like she felt it. If that makes sense, you intuitively knew and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like a feeling I can't describe.
Um, so are there people that you can't read? Like, are there people that are spiritually blocked that don't come through?
No, I think it depends on a person. It can, like for skeptics, it's a little bit harder because you are not really open-minded. So you have certain expectation as a skeptic. So it's kind of like for me hitting kind of like a brick wall. So certain information can come through and stuff like that. And then when it comes to like a spiritual person, I've had this one case where she said that nobody's allowed to read me. If they read my energy without my consent or permission, give them false information too. So, like I said, it really depends on a person too. I think it's most likely the skeptics that's a blockage, or even if you're not a skeptic, you want to connect with a certain loved one, and when that certain loved one don't come through, that can be a blockage too because you're not open to other information that comes through or other loved ones that come through. So really, it can be the client or it can be the psychic. So it depends on the factors.
All right. Interesting. Okay. Um, so going on to tarot reading, how does that work? Is it energy based or is it just like truly just random?
Well, there's two types. I think, in my personal experience, I'm not saying it's right or wrong or the truth or fact. In my personal experience, I think there's two types of readers. One who goes by the guidebook, just strictly the guidebook, and then the other ones are the guidebook and the intuitive reader, which is me. I'm the intuitive guidebook user, stuff like that. So it depends on the individual.
Okay. So when you say that, you combine your intuition, or not necessarily intuition, but like your ability with your tarot reading, like what does that look like in separate from somebody who were to just use the guidebook? Like, y-
Um, let's see. So I want to go back to my very first tarot reading where this person asked me how can they make this friendship turn into a romantic friendship, and I drew the devil card. And it's my first time, so I was like, okay. So I kind of went back to the guidebook, and they're just talking description of the devil card, and then my eyes went to chains, which is like bound. The chains kind of like have the lovers on the ankles.
mhm.
So to me, when I saw the chains holding the lovers like apart, I was like, maybe she needed to kind of lay space or not be too up in that person's butt. That makes sense.
Interesting.
Like,
Okay.
don't be toxic.
I like it. So why would someone, like me, for instance, like every time I do a tarot reading, pretty much every time I've done it, I always get two of three cards or all three, and it's either the magician, the devil, or I think it's the angel is the last one. Um, so why
Is it,
would why would I like continue to pull those three cards?
did you ask a specific question or you just want to see what popped up?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, most of the time I'm asking specific questions, but almost every single time I've done a tarot reading, those are the three cards that come up.
Okay, so let's just say you just want to see what popped up. So the magician, it can go so many ways. Maybe for me, the way how I intuitively feel right now, it just feels like maybe you need to use the resources or tools you have around you to help you get to wherever you need to go, what you want to go. If that makes sense. But you're
Okay,
just not using the resources, like maybe a community, just whatever's out there is really there for you.
interesting. Okay.
And
Um,
what's the other two?
one was the devil card.
The devil. So let's see. So if you didn't ask any question, it can just to me, it just feels like be aware of like toxic thinking patterns or behavior patterns or just becoming like toxic to other people too. It can be toxic to yourself, but I feel like in your case could be toxic or negative thought patterns and behaviors into that you kind of want to work on, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Okay. Um, you said earlier that your method is evidence-based, and can you elaborate a little bit more on that and what that means and how you use that in your readings?
Evidence based, well, for me, evidence is just more basically information that you can confirm and validate that this is your loved one or associated with your loved one. Let's just say I brought up a grandmother, but I went in depth in detail about my grandmother. I can say she's short. I just kind of described their physical features and their personality and their memories and things they did. I go very in depth in detail who they are instead of just saying, "Oh, your great grandfather's here,"
I
and
like
just
that.
go there for on.
Okay. And that makes you a little bit more about. Have you ever had somebody like literally burst out into tears because you were so accurate?
Yeah, it happens a lot of my readings. A lot.
It does.
Yeah. And I told them, it's okay to cry. I'm gonna save space for you. So whatever you need to do, just do it. I don't care.
I like it. Um, have you ever had a client that had like so many spirits come in at one time that you kind of had to like compartmentalize and be like, all right, whoa, hold on.
No, I because usually in the beginning, when we talk to each other, I just told them, hey, just take turns or exchange spots, don't interrupt each other. And then they did a pretty good job following my rules that I have in place with them and everything. And in most cases too, it's just more of the ones that you need to hear from the most who will pop up. So it can be one or two, maybe three people. Again, it's just depending what you need to benefit from for the reading.
Mm-hmm. So it's not, so what you're saying is it's not necessarily like, hey, grandma wants to talk to you, she's popping in. It's like really what you kind of need at the time.
Yeah.
All
Sometimes
right.
they can just pop in and say, hey, that's it.
Huh. Okay. All right. What makes someone like more spiritually in tune, both like a client and a like a psychic or a medium or whatever? It's like how do you become more spiritually uh understanding, I guess is a way to say it.
Um, oh, that's a good question. I feel like personally, in my opinion, in my belief, just work on your self-development, because I feel like it's what spirituality is working on yourself, on things that you don't like and things you do like. It's just more about exploring yourself, and the spirituality is not really about being a medium or a tarot reader or a psychic. It's more about, again, working just working on yourself, because I feel like nowadays people they tend to focus on other people's problems rather than themselves. Would that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what spiritual people mean. I mean, there's so many people who say that, oh, I'm healed from my traumas, I'm healed, I'm clean, there's nothing to worry about. That's kind of BS because as a human, we're always growing or learning. And there are things that may trigger you or things that you need to work on too, like I said earlier. So we're always learning and evolving. We're never a master, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So the spiritual ability like is something that like has to be worked at. It's not something that you can just like be an expert at all at once.
Yeah. I mean, I believe everybody has the capability to be a psychic, but it's people are aware, but it depends how receptive you want to be in your psychic abilities.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So I guess moving on a little bit. So there's like do you believe in palm reading? Is that like a real thing?
It is a real thing, but I feel like your palm lines, it can grow or change because you're growing too. So it's not a set in stone kind of thing. It's like I said, it just changes with you too as well.
Interesting. Okay. So I guess how like did you, work to kind of become the psychic you are today? Like is there just like a sit and meditate practice kind of thing? Is it come with time? Is it you get better every day? What is the vibe?
Personally for me, my practice, I am more about self-development and self-empowerment and more
Hmm.
working with my spirit team. So I just told them, whatever I need to work on, just kind of let me know or give me hints and stuff like that. Um, I don't meditate at all. I can't because I'm so busy being a mom and everything. So I can't meditate. I can't stay
Hmm.
still. And for those who does want to meditate or do want to meditate, I think there's two types of meditation. One is the active, which we know as yoga, and then the other one is sitting in power. So you gotta know what works for you. And for those who are like active, keep going. I feel like active meditation would be much better than just sitting in power. If your mind is 20,000 miles an hour, um, for me, it just comes in time because you don't know when it's gonna come. Like for example, a couple of days ago, I was faced in a situation where it triggered me to be disappointed because I have expectations. So my expectations is my problem because I hold myself into high standards. So I automatically hold other people to high standards as well.
Uh-huh.
So that's a, kind of like showing you what your blockage is. You have expectations on other people when you should have expectations. So it will come and go. Even like just people you don't like, there are something, a reflection of yourself that you don't like, if that makes sense. So it's a lot of work in progress.
Interesting. Okay. Um, so is it I've heard from other mediums and psychics that it can be a very draining process. So do you have like a limit on like how many people you see a day?
For me, I say three people,
Okay.
three people. But for me, now since I have better time management, I schedule mostly on the weekends just because I am more relaxed and I have free time and the weekdays is school for me. And it depends too on that month too, because if that month is a good month and I'm completely open, I have no family plans, then I can take on 4 clients a day. That's for mediumship. For tarot, it's unlimited because it don't use much of my energy.
Okay. Interesting. Um, so oh gosh, I lost my question. Uh, how how do you kind of as a psychic learn to kind of set that boundary? Like obviously there had to have been a time before the rules and before the expectations. So was there an instance of which you had to kind of enforce those rules where it became too much and you were like, okay, let's roll back a little bit.
Definitely in the beginning. It depends on because sometimes I schedule my appointments a week ahead of time, or sometimes it's 3 days ahead of time. Um, it was on a Sunday. I knew I had nothing planned on that Sunday, so my schedule was completely open. And then Saturday came the evening, I was like, okay, let me see if I feel up for it, and I was completely fine. And then when Sunday morning came, I feel sick. Like it just
Oh,
hit me out the blue, and I just took that as a sign for my spirit guides to relax. I need to focus on the family and the kids. So I was like, okay, whatever, if it is what it is.
interesting. So how do you tell the difference between like somebody who's just joshing you and like a genuine psychic medium?
Um, for me, I have very strong beliefs and opinions when it comes to this. Um, I think I think everybody's gifted. I like to believe that they're gifted, but I feel like if they're fishing you for information instead of giving you information, that's a red flag. There are some psychics who like to have photos to kind of have a stronger link to the spirit. But I feel like for me, it's up to your discretion if you want to provide a photo. But for me, definitely do not provide your information, personal information. Obviously, they can see your name. That's okay, but no birth dates, um, no debit, credit card, nothing. They should be able to read you immediately based off your energy. With palm reading, I think that's okay, but if they're not giving you like astrology or birth chart reading, don't give your birth date or your birth time.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. They're okay. So they can say that a grandfather is here, and then they'll be like, well, he took your fishing. And then you automatically went to your grandfather from your dad's side of the family. That can kind of be a red flag because they're not really giving much information of exactly who
Hmm.
it is. And then I want to say too that when it comes to tarot readings, for me, I don't do legal health of pregnancy or missing cases or whatever. But if they do those type of readings, just kind of again up to you if you want to. Because for me, I personally think that if no one is not a professional or licensed, then no one should be able to do those type of readings unless they have a healthy track of reviews that can back them up that they're legit of what they do. Um, is this and like I said earlier too, that you're giving them more information than them bringing up information to you, kind of thing. So I think this is the gist of it too. I think the most common ones is that you have attachments, the energy clearing, chakra problems, stuff like that. Try to sell you products and everything.
Interesting. So you said chakras. Um, so what are those? Are they real? Is that a thing?
Sorry, I'm drinking water. Yes, chakras are real. And for me, this is where I have another strong opinion. Chakras, they're originally originated from Hinduism, and so I don't touch anything that's not open practice. Um, but like I said, it's just basically chakras are just energy placeholders for deities or gods and goddesses. When you look up in Hinduism, each chakra has a deity dedicated to it. But now the chakras we know, it's more of energy centers that we need to work on. Really, it's the deities that needs to work on for us. Um, so like I said, it's I have a strong opinion about chakras. I just feel like people who's not from Hinduism, they kind of appropriating chakras.
Okay.
So again, it's just my personal beliefs and opinion because I just feel like if
And that's
you see
valid, yeah.
someone, yeah, because I feel like if you see someone appropriating other people's cultures, what makes you think they're gonna respect your culture and beliefs too as well.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I never thought of it like that.
Well, good for you to know now.
Well, I do not have any more questions for you other than do you have any social media websites or anything like that that you would like to blast?
Yes, I do have a TikTok where it mostly just kind of shows a little bit about mediumship and reviews from my customers. And my TikTok is Linda Evidential Medium. It's all smushed together. There's no symbols, nothing. It's just mushed together. And then my Facebook business page is Linda Spiritual Corner. I think that's all the socials I have.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Blind Dates with Jay Walker. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to reach out at blinddatesjw@gmail.com. Please feel free to follow us on Facebook. It is Blind Dates W/J Walker. The W is with a slash because I am too lazy to write out the word with. Um, you can follow me on Instagram at the_real_blind, the_real_J_Walker. And I think that's all of my socials. So this has been a fantastic episode. Thank you so much for joining me today on this interview. I really appreciate it. I would love to schedule a time for us to have an appointment.
Yeah, sure. I'd be open. Just let me know when you're free.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Have such a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.